allows you to stack it up with other spells on unaware enemies. But outside of that niche benefit, the utility of the Clayman sorceries aren't nearly going to be as ever-present as spells in the Carian or Gravity subtypes. The Death sorceries could also use a lot of work, if I'm being honest. The two main damage sorceries of this subtype are both multi-projectile, making it very hard to pierce through flat defenses of enemies in the beginning of the game, which wouldn't be such a problem if Rancor Call wasn't found in Stormvale Castle, the game's very first legacy dungeon, while the actual performance of the spell won't even slightly stand out amongst others until you're well into the game. Additionally, I don't think I need to even weigh in on the problems encircling Fia's Mist at the moment. Nothing short of a full overhaul is going to save this waste of pixels. I don't know how I would even begin, just fix it. It needs fixed. The Two Fingers incantations are intended to be an accessible beginner's library of magic that even sorcery builders shouldn't have a problem meeting the requirements of. And on that merit alone, some credit is certainly due. But most of its utility spells offer very little that you can't get somewhere else. And when people begin criticizing incantations for having a bloated selection, where some spells exist entirely just to make the library look bigger, this is the subtype they're usually thinking about, especially when some improved variants of the listed spells like Flame Cleanse Me can be found decently early into the game, whereas bestial incantations almost seem to suffer from the exact opposite problem. Sure, it might be worth collecting 2 Death Root just so you can have access to Bestial Sling, but it has nowhere near the stopping power it used to. Both Beastclaw incantations have been mediocre for as long as I can remember, and the only one that stands out as a consistent all-rounder seems to be Stone of Geraint, which is awarded to you after finding 6 Death Root. But that's really what most have come to expect with incantations. Even if a particular subtype offers very little in terms of performance or utility, there's usually 1 or 2 that can still pull some weight. Now that I've formally introduced both branches of the magic system, we can move on to the strengths and weaknesses of each as a whole. I'm anticipating this to be the longest section by far because of how stringent you can really get with the details. Starting with sorcery, the first benefit you'll notice pretty much immediately upon starting your game is that the 2 sorcery starting classes are set up noticeably better than the 2 faith classes. A standard healing incantation is far from the strongest choice, just because 32 FP is a pretty enormous order for someone who's literally at the start of the game. Glintstone Pebble and Magic Glintblade, on the other hand, not only do sustainable damage in the beginning, but end up becoming 2 of the strongest workhorses well into the mid-game and debatably even further on. Glintstone Pebble benefits from being increasingly FP efficient the further into the game, while still being able to deal damage that isn't much compared to its upgraded variants, but still not exactly insignificant. And Magic Glintblade has the invaluable utility of being able to be delayed further by charging it, allowing it to be stacked with other spells in the process. Catch Flame does